Was it Colonel Mustard in the ballroom with the revolver? Or Professor Plum with the scarab in the kitchen?
Oh no.
Whoever it was, their crazy idea didn't work. But would it today? We're going to talk about it on the cast, Backstage Banter. Morgan, how you doing, buddy?
I'm good. I'm good. Do you know Peanut, Jeff Dunham? Peanut? I don't know why I just had
Is
that
that one
thought.
of the? Is that one of his puppet characters?
Yeah, it's the purple dude with the
Oh
green.
yes, yeah.
I'm gonna good.
Are you a big Jeff Dunham fan?
I am.
You remember at some point, so for anybody listening, Morgan and I have been producing a show for a while. It's not released yet. We're hoping to get it out in the nearish future. But we've been working on a series, and we had some Jeff Dunham joke in there, didn't we, at some point?
Well, we did, and we chose to
But
change it because either he was too topical or not topical enough.
I think we ended up changing the line to Sinbad. We were trying to find like the right kind of like, we were trying to find the right kind of character to like really
Yeah,
embody like because the one character is calling another character like they're saying you're just like we insert comedian there,
comedian here,
and
yeah.
we first had Jeff Dunham, and I think we changed it, but I didn't realize at the time that you were a big Jeff Dunham fan. I'm surprised you didn't lobby for that more.
Well, the whole idea was that we wanted to find somebody that was recognizable, but it was still like, I don't know if I know what you're talking about right now.
Yeah, like it didn't seem like it made sense. Like it was like, why would you associate me with that particular person? Like it was
Yeah.
so specific that it was odd. So I do think we made the right call, and that's no offense to Jeff Dunham
No, I love
or to
Jeff Dunham.
Sinbad, but it just made more sense, I think, for the scene there. But yeah. Anyway, question for you:
What's up?
are you a game person? Do you like games, like board
I
games, party games, that kind of thing?
love games. I routinely have a problem with buying board games that will go entirely unused forever because I don't know people who live near me who would want to play board games.
Sounds like a wise investment then. It sounds like you're spending your money wisely.
I
do you
love board games. I don't know what it is, especially
do you have a
when
favorite? Do you have like a favorite board game?
Monopoly. No, I'm kidding.
No. Okay. I used to love Monopoly as a kid, and I could never get anybody to play it with me because it would take so long. I
Same.
remember my grandmother had it at her house, and I would go there and I'd be like, "Grandma, can we play Monopoly?" And she'd be like, "My grandma was the most wonderful human being in the world, by the way. Like, would do it, and she would play with me sometimes, but I could see the anguish in her eyes where it's like, oh, here goes
Yeah.
3 hours."
Yep. I get the same reaction whenever I want to play a board game of any variety, so I feel your pain. I do enjoy Monopoly, so I'm sure you can imagine how those conversations went.
Yeah.
I like Monopoly to the degree where I actually did a monologue about how to win at Monopoly in college.
Interesting. All right.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Well, because
Um,
there's a legitimate Monopoly strategy that if you exploit,
I'm
you will
sure there
win
is.
every single time.
Is it just buying all the properties immediately?
It's buy everything that you land on the first time that you land on it, and in the end game, you want to be in jail.
Interesting. I didn't know that part. We'll have to explore that more sometime. Because today we're going to actually talk more Clue. Are you a fan of Clue?
Clue the board game?
Yes, Clue the board. Well, yeah. Are you a fan of Clue the board game?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm also a
Did
fan of Whodunnit, which is also a board
okay.
game that's similar to Clue.
Do you know there was a Clue movie?
I do know that there was a Clue movie. I've not seen it in its entirety.
Okay.
which
All right.
which
Well,
if you
we're
watched the last episode, apparently Morgan doesn't watch any movies.
no. I'm amazed that you've seen part of it. So today's episode, we are. This is episode 4, and I like to call this episode "Whodunnit: The Incredible but Unsuccessful Gamble of the Clue Movie," because Clue did something that was very unorthodox when it came out. So for anybody
Interesting.
who doesn't know, this was a movie that they made based on the board game, and it came out in 1985. And it did
I did
something
know
that no
that. I
movie.
did know that.
You did
I
know
did
that?
know that part. I knew that the movie
All
was
right.
based on the board game, but
Yep.
other than that, the rest of tonight is going to be just Jason educating Morgan.
Okay. That's okay. I still want, like, I think you're going to find it interesting because the movie did something that no movie prior to it had ever done before, and no movie has done since.
Even
And
Clue
I
2?
think, was there a clue too? Tell me
Isn't
there was
there?
a clue too.
Hold on.
I don't
I
think
have to
there
fact
is.
check myself, but I'm almost certain that there was a Clue 2.
No way. Because I gotta be honest with you. Clue One did not do particularly well at the time. It's become a cult classic now, but it was not very well received when it came out.
Clue 2, Murder in Disguise, 1987, sequel to the live action VHS version of Parker Brothers' classic board game Clue. So it's
No
not a
kidding.
live action film, but there is a Clue 2.
So it's an animated sequel.
It looks like it. It looks based on the cover art, which I guess I'll throw up on the screen, but it looks like yeah, it's animated kind of thing cuz it's like weird that it says sequel to the live action VHS version. So I'm
Hmm.
guessing that that means that it is not live action.
Yeah, I don't know. I didn't know there was a Clue two, but as far as I understand it, no movie has ever done what we're about to talk about ever again. So I would assume that that means Clue two as well. But if people have seen Clue two and they find us to be wrong, they can let us know in the comments, I suppose.
Mm. Mhm.
So I
Mhm.
guess
Mhm.
to kind of ground us here, let me set the stage.
Whoa. I'm not on the
This,
ground.
come on down, come on down. Come on back down to earth. This is where the movies live. I know you're afraid of them, but that's okay. Um, so as we said, Clue came out like in 1985. The 1980s were like a weird time in movies where like blockbusters were starting to were becoming a thing, and studios were exploring different ways to increase audience engagement. So they were trying different tactics to get butts and seats. And it hadn't been the first time a studio did this. Like way back in the day, there was some horror movie, I can't remember now, and they tried like a weird gimmick thing where they would have like a skeleton swing from the rafters at the end of the scary movie,
Yeah.
and it was supposed to help engage
I
audiences
feel
more.
like we're
But
going in the 4D direct, like the failed 4D direction of movies where they wanted
this
to
would
like,
sort of that came later, and that was a
okay,
little bit after 1985.
all right.
So Paramount had gotten the rights from Universal to produce a Clue movie based on the game, which,
Mhm.
fun fact, in the rest of the world is called Cluedo and not Clue,
Is
which
there some sort of copyright reason for that? Like the whole Zootopia versus whatever they changed it to?
um,
Zootropolis?
no, it's because so I guess the game is usually called Cluedo because the word clue mixed with the word ludo, which is a Latin word for I play. So basically, it's I
Oh,
play Clue.
interesting.
But when it got adapted for the U.S., Parker Brothers was like, "We're just going to call it Clue." So I'm not
Because
mad
nobody
about it.
knows Latin or because they're lazy?
Probably both. I don't know. But anyways, when Parker Brothers decided they were going to make this movie, they hired Jonathan Landis to write the script. He had written the script, and he brought a bunch of other scriptwriters on board, including the guy who played Norman Bates, who I did not know ever did screenplay writing. But they worked on the script for a while, and eventually Jonathan Landis finished it and was asked to direct. Now he got the job because he had done most of the script, which included making multiple endings. So he thought it would be fun because it was Clue, just like the board game where the ending is randomized, that there would be more than one way the movie would end. And the studio thought, yeah, that's great that that's on brand for the property, but also this would incentivize people to come to the movie theater more than once. So we also like this idea. So
Sure.
that's what happened. They put it in the movie theater, and different theaters got different endings to the movie, which I think is
Interesting.
fascinating. So when you hear that, what are your first thoughts as far as how that would be received? Do you think that is at 1985? Put yourself in that year, which I don't think you were born in at the time. Um, but put yourself in that space. How do you think audience reacted?
How do I think audiences reacted?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I definitely think that there was some vehement debate at the beginning, because if I went to go see the movie and then somebody I know went to go see the movie and we're talking about it and he's like, "This is how it ended," and I'm like, "Wait, what are you talking about? That's not how it ended. Did we not go to see the same movie?" And it turns out, no, you didn't. So I feel like it probably would have started with rage and confusion. And
And
then
ended
I
in a mystery in the ballroom, or ended with a murder in the ballroom.
and then I think it would have mellowed to some degree to like, oh, well, I mean, like, because it's so on brand for the property, now I've got to go and see the other endings. I got to see what I'm missing. And I think that that would have worked to get people to the theater 2 to 3 more times. I don't know how many endings he wrote for the film, but if he wrote much more than I think 4 endings, I don't think like a single individual, unless they were dedicated to the property, is going to go and see or try to see all of the different endings.
So there were three endings that made it to the theaters. There was a fourth ending that was written, but everybody involved kind of agreed that it was a terrible ending, and they didn't end up using it. I think in that ending, it's been a long time since I've watched the movie, so I don't remember all of the various endings, but in the one that got scrapped, I think like they just kill everybody. Like everybody dies, and this way
Interesting.
nobody continues the movie. And like it just did not go over well, so they
Here's my
scrapped that, but they did use three different
here's
alternates.
my quandary. Does the story split at a singular branch place, or depending on the ending, does the whole movie progress differently?
So the story up until the ending point is the same, but the clues that used to solve like who did it were all in place in the movie. But every character, it, if you haven't seen the movie, every character is brought to a mansion with some kind of weird backstory. Like they
Spoiler alert,
all
guys.
have. This is not spoiler. This is just the kind of the premise of the movie. So they all show up in the mansion, and they all have like a connection to the owner of the mansion,
Mhm.
and they all have some kind of weird. There's some kind of weird connection there. They have like shady business dealings. There's some sort of interpersonal kind of conflict. So all of them have some kind of motive that could have drawn them, and that's why all the characters kind of suspect one another throughout the film. So when you get to the part where it branches off into the different endings, there's enough built there that you can go back and say like, okay, this makes sense as the various person that's calling out what happened
When
calls it
does it
out.
diverge? Is it like a
It's
half
a,
an hour
it's like
from
the
the
last
end?
like no, it's like the last like 10 minutes of the movie.
Oh, so it's not even like a
It's literally
crazy
just the ending. Yeah.
interesting. That's very
Yeah.
interesting.
Critics did not care for the movie in general for the most part.
Yeah, but
The
who cares
reviews
what
are
critics
were pretty
say?
mixed, but they people in general felt that the ending thing was just a gimmick, and it really didn't land. Now,
Really?
yeah, it didn't land, and that's why they haven't done it
So
again.
people in the 80s are just boring fuddy-duddies.
Well, here's the problem. I think one, yes. Two, no. So I think part of the problem was that at the time, I don't know that people necessarily knew that there was. Let me take a step back. At the time, I know at least some of the theaters were telling you like you'll see ending, this ending or that ending for our viewing of the show, like our version of the movie. And I
Right.
think that that's a weird way to go about it that like you couldn't have really prevented at the time. But I think now, if you were to use like if a movie were to do this now and had multiple endings like that, but you do not tell you don't tell the theater, right? You just send them a copy of the movie, and people start talking about it online. And
Mhm.
to your point earlier, imagine somebody's on Twitter talking about like, oh, I can't believe Professor Plum did X Y Z, and someone's like, the hell are you talking about? That's not what happened at all. It was Miss Scarlet, whatever.
Yeah.
And then people organically figure out that there was different versions of the movie.
That's
I
how
think that's fascinating.
I see. That's how I thought. And I guess I should have asked more questions to get more information, but that's what I thought happened. But if theaters were announcing that you were going to see X version, then I would have probably been inclined to say I'm sure people felt that this was gimmicky. I think that the reason that it feels gimmicky is in execution, because, and this is why I asked about where it diverges, because if it all diverges at the same point, then I don't think that there's a way to get around it feeling gimmicky. But if you're smart about it, you would put those diverging points at different places. So it wouldn't, you wouldn't, the movie wouldn't be the same up to this singular point and then break off. It would be like the movie's going and like here this plot breaks off and then here this one breaks off. Do you know what I mean? That's how I think you do it successfully.
I think that even I don't disagree with you. I think the problem that that brings, however, is then you're filming a lot more movie, right?
Yes.
Like you're at
You're
that
essentially
point, it's
filming
not
three
just
movies.
yes, you're basically filming 3 movies at that point, which I actually think is also a fantastic idea. And I've thought about this even before, the context of Clue. Like imagine if there's a movie where, you essentially film 2 movies that tell one story, but independently they could conclude a story on their own, but there's a larger narrative that intertwines. So instead of doing like a sequel later, like you get a different perspective, maybe the other character. I think that would be a really cool
There
idea.
something that
It would be
you would
really
like
hard to execute, but I think it'd be cool.
in a movie medium. I think it would be difficult to execute. But what you're talking about, I actually know a series that does that. It's not American. It's a manga, and I call them like companion series. Because they exist independently, but there's enough crossover where if you read them both, it adds more to the story. And it's Triple X Holic and Subasa. Phenomenal reads, recommend it. Basically, the idea is that you have this one storyline that has its own arc and culminates in a satisfying ending. You have a parallel universe that things are happening in, and where you get the crossover when you read both of them is how the parallel universes interact with each other, which is very interesting.
Are you familiar with the term Rashomon?
I don't know what it means, but I've heard that word before.
Okay, so there's a term called a Rashomon film, and this is typically when a movie takes it's when a movie takes different perspectives throughout the story, and then it circles them back around. It was based off of a movie, like the original movie was called Rashomon, which did this, where um, you have like different angles, like you see like how the characters intertwine afterwards because you're seeing different perspectives throughout the movie.
Mhm.
So like an example of that would be um, like have you seen? You've probably not seen this movie because you've never seen any movies, but do you know the
This is
movie
gonna be a running.
Crash?
This is gonna be a running like theme. We're gonna have to make a T-shirt that says
Morgan
"I've
does not
never
watch
seen a movie
movies.
in my life."
Yeah, you know the movie like Crash or Crash. It's got a bunch of
This is an
people.
indictment of Morgan. No, I have
Uh,
not.
okay, I'm trying to think of another example. I'm trying to think. Is there? I know you've seen Disney movies. I'm trying to think if there's a Disney movie that would do this, but I can't think of one off the top of my head. But
Probably not.
basically,
Disney doesn't
in
get
the
like
movie,
all that experimental.
like imagine a movie where you have this narrative where you see a story play out from one character's perspective, and then you see it play out a different way from another
Oh,
character's
Vantage
perspective.
Point. You're talking about Vantage Point.
Yes,
The
like a
movie
vantage,
Vantage
like
Point.
the movie Vantage Point. Is there a movie called Vantage? Well, I mean, it
There's
sounds like
literally
there
a
would
movie
be.
called Vantage Point, and the whole thing is it's about this singular event from like 6 different point of views of 6 different
Yes.
characters.
So imagine that, like a movie like that, but done where you take one of the characters and you make it a full length movie, and then another character in a full length movie, and you release them at the same time, where you see the same story play out in different ways, the stories would then intertwine, but instead of doing it within the confines of the same film, I think you could
Yep.
do that, and I think that would be really interesting.
That's
Again, you're
this.
filming twice as much movie,
Yeah.
but I would love to see a studio try to do something like that. I think that'd be really cool.
That's like the Triple X Holic Subasa example that I brought up, which is it is they're parallel stories where like they exist in isolation, but if you watch both of them, there's like a third storyline that sort of emerges. And there's a lot of I think that there's a lot of really creative things that you can do with stuff like that. Like I've heard about people talk about, is there a way to do a choose your own adventure book in a film medium? Like, is there a way for
Mm.
you to choose your own adventure in a film? And it's one of those
That was a
things.
thing.
Was it?
That's been a that was I remember I want to say it was the 90s that was there was theaters that were testing something like that. So basically you would go into the theater, and this fits on topic with this too because we're talking about studio gimmicks, right? So that was another gimmick that was tried at some point where you'd go into a theater and you'd be watching the film, and it would get to a point where it would say, all right, choose A, B, or C for what happens next. And on the back of the seat in front of you would be like a corded controller with buttons,
Mhm.
and the audience would pick, and whatever the majority of the audience would pick between the two or three options, that would be the next reel they would put on, and then you would see that part of the storyline, which I
Interesting.
which is also interesting. I think that the problem that you get with that though is that you have to then take the time of like pausing the story, polling the audience, and like it starts to pull you out of that. So I don't think it ever caught on. I mean, it definitely
Nowadays,
never went mainstream.
nowadays that would be easier to do though.
I agree, and I think I would love to see this. And I think you and I have talked about this before. How cool would that be to have a series on like YouTube where you get to the end of the end of the video and it gives you those two tiles,
Hmm.
but the tiles are the next sequence.
There was a
That would be
creator
awesome.
that I used to follow who did that on YouTube. I forget what his name is. I'll see if I could look it up and I'll throw it in the description. But essentially, the biggest issue with this idea is that it has the same issue that video games have with dialogue trees. But instead of it just being a dialogue tree, it's a story tree. So anytime you give your audiences an option, you have to build out both options. And
Yeah.
in within those trees, if you want to give them another choice, now you have more branches and more story that you have to build out. But what this guy did is he would have a video, and then he would have two or three tiles at the end of the video, and you would click on one, and the thing is, you wouldn't be able to like skip ahead in any way because all of the videos were
Mm.
unlisted on YouTube. So the only way for you to get to them was to
Just
go
by clicking.
through the story tree.
Yeah. The problems that I see with that is one, obviously you're filming a lot more content than just the story length. So like if you were building this to be a let's say an hour long experience, you have to write, shoot, and edit far more than that because you don't know what selection your audience is going to make,
Right.
right? The other problem is that the scenarios have to work within or out of sequence. So, like, you have to build scenarios where, uh, like, a choose your own adventure book does not work where it's like this choice is always this part of the story. Like, the thing could be in the middle of the story or it could be towards the end of the story. Like, there are certain pieces that always have to be there, but you would have to develop scenes that if you select something from, if you go from episode or content 1 to content 4, it makes as just much sense as if you were to do it from content 6 to content 4 as well. It has to work where you're progressing the story but you're also not making it confusing because something is out of order. So the events themselves have to give the user information without restricting it to a specific
I think it de-
timeline.
I think it depends on what you're trying to do because the way that I'm thinking about it, you're creating like a dialogue tree which branches off into separate directions. But
Oh yeah.
there is a version of it where the story branches off, but ultimately arcs back to a singular ending. So like it all comes. So the story will always end the same, but along the way you have choices. So it's not a tree. It's more of like a decision oval, which is like
Okay.
different.
So if you did that, then it goes back to the idea that you have to have so much content because that means every choice is like every ending to like each video is two completely unique additional
Well, it would
videos,
be the clue
right?
thing where like it literally ends differently.
Yes, but like you're branching out. So every time you get to the end, you have like two options, two options, two options, two options.
Yeah.
Because in a typical choose your own adventure book, they have all those chapters where you have some of that stuff where you might get to it early in your story or you might get to it later. And that's how you give more choices without having to create more content, like without having to do as much content, right? Like if you
So
find stuff that could fit in the middle where like, let's say at the end of one page, you're like, I guess I'm off to the next city. And then the choices are either I've arrived in New York and then you continue the story where then they meet somebody else. But then you have another option where it's like, as I rolled into Alabama,
yeah.
and those can fit into somewhere else because you're kind of starting them off vague.
So my
Where
issue
rather than say like the next choice is either you're doing this or that specifically,
this
you're
is
leaving it a little bit more open.
this is where it becomes gimmicky though. And this is where
Sure.
the question I think comes in as to whether or not it's an effective storytelling strategy because I remember the first time that I was introduced to a choose your own adventure book and you're immediately taken in by the concept because you're like I get to participate.
Yeah.
But then at some point, because of what you're describing, at some point you figure out that you don't actually have any real effect on the story because you're just choosing the order in which events happen. You're not choosing how the story turns out. And that's when
I,
it becomes a gimmick. I think that unless there's actually an impact that you're having, then you're essentially like flipping the bird at the audience.
no, see, I think what you were talking about before is what you're saying now. So the tree oval where it ends at a finite point,
Hmm.
then yes, you can't. I mean, you're no matter what you do, you're ending in the same place,
Right.
right? I mean, that's what you were talking about. What I'm talking about is there are scenes that can recycle, but in a choose your own adventure book, you can have different endings. I remember reading like, some I don't remember what the story was, but doing a choose your own adventure book as a kid where 4 pages in, or like the first choice I make, where it's like do this and this or do that and go to this page. And like your character dies, you're like, I've been reading this book for 10 minutes and I'm done. Like I guess I got to go back and choose something else. And sometimes it's like after a little ways in, but you can get to an ending. And you're like, I don't like that ending. I'm going back and I'm going to try the other thing now because you
Yeah.
think you know where it's going. You're like, oh, I'm going to pick this and that's going to lead me down this path. And then you're wrong and you don't like it. So you go back,
Mm.
but you do get to choose it. I'm just saying that there are ambiguous parts in the middle that you can select whether it's as an option, one of your first options or one of your 15th options. They have spots in them. This way you can use them in various places to get most flexibility out of the limited number of pages.
Yeah. I the thing is in a film
It's hard to
medium,
do. It's crazy. Yeah.
I don't know how necessary that is to facilitate because like you're not flipping back like you would in a book. Like you're not going back and
Right.
being like, let me try this again. In a film, once you make the decision, you are now on a route to the end. So I get what you're saying in the sense that how can I film a scene that's usable in different branches of the story
Yeah.
so that I don't have to literally film 3 movies? But I don't
Th-
know that.
this is what I'm saying. Like it would have to be like a character development scene only. So let's say you're doing some sort of whatever type of movie you're doing. There's scenes or selections that you would make that further the plot,
Mhm.
but in between those you would have to have something that's like not plot related and just developing the character. So let's say you're making a path and you can use let's say your character meets some random stranger in a hotel and they're in need of help and they choose to do something. You learn who that character is.
Hmm.
Nothing happens with their journey.
Hmm.
So you can put it anywhere within the higher storyline.
Sure.
Those are the type of things I'm talking about. Because you want to give as many options as you can, but also there's a limit to how much content you can build. So
Sure.
like you'd have to figure that part in there too. But putting that into a theater is the trickiest part.
I've
Like I said
actually,
before, they did it with the little hand thing, like the little hand controller. And I've never seen a theater that has those. They'd have to be fitted for them.
yeah.
I
I've
I
always
don't know
thought
that we'd see that anytime
I've
soon.
always thought that the best medium for this idea, for the choose your own adventure idea, is episodic. And I
Hmm.
think that streaming took a swing at this idea because Netflix had those
Yes,
interactive episodes, which I watched a few out of curiosity,
it
not because
was
I
um, it was Black Mirror, wasn't it? That did it, like a Black Mirror
there was
movie.
a bunch of different ones. So there was a Black Mirror one, there was a Carmen Sandiego one, which I actually thought was kind of interesting because Carmen
There was a
Sandiego.
Carmen Sandiego one.
Yeah. There
No
was a
kidding.
Camp Cretaceous one. I think there was a Stranger Things one.
No, I don't think so. I would
No.
have known about that one.
Okay. But they had Netflix created a bunch of these like interactive episodes, and I haven't seen them recently. My assumption is because they didn't do well. Like they just didn't get a whole lot of viewership. Um,
Well, the Black Mirror one I saw, I think they did it a couple times with Black Mirror, so I don't know if I'm thinking of the same example you are, but I saw a Black Mirror movie where I think there was only like a couple of times where you get to make a choice, and it's like it really does not have much effect on anything.
doesn't.
I think the only main choice is like right at the end you get to pick something, and it does have like you get one of two different endings. But that's what I'm talking about. Like if you're going to make this worthwhile, you have to have enough impactful choices to make it feel like you're doing something. But I do think you're right. I think that the streaming platform does lend itself better for that than a theater experience would.
I also though and this is the other half of it because I think streaming is the place where you can do it, but they didn't even do it right. They took a swing, but I don't think they did it right because it's a singular episode where you make choices throughout the episode and you can I don't know how many endings are reasonable to do. I think the Carmen Sandiego had two possible endings. The Camp Cretaceous one had three possible endings. Um, but I don't actually think that's how you do it. I think that you have to do it episodically. I think that you have a decision at, say, like the end of an episode to determine what the next episode is going to be. And you create a tree in that way. But
Hmm.
the problem with that is what you were talking before about, well, okay, so now I essentially have to produce two seasons, possibly three or four, depending on how many choices you have throughout the season, um, to make this possible. Because, like, let's say I'm watching a series, and on episode three, there's a decision that you get to make as the audience member, and that determines where you go in the story. So you've now branched it off, and let's say it's an 8 episode season, because that's, I think, the smallest episode size for a season on Netflix, at least. So in episode three, you make a decision. Now, at the very least, in order for you to finish that series without making the audience feel like it's gimmicky, you have to film at least 10 more episodes because you have to finish both of those stories.
Yeah, it's a lot of content that potentially nobody will see. I think that the real risk too is how do you make all of those scenarios satisfying? Because you run the risk, like if you have just one straight narrative, you can ensure, at least reasonably so, that you're having a fulfilling conclusion, right?
Mm-hmm.
That you're having a full story that gets you from A to B, that is well put out, well thought of, and feels satisfying in the end.
Mm-hmm.
If you're putting out all these different scenarios where people choose and stuff, you are opening yourself up to risk that people may not like what they see and they may feel like they didn't enjoy it. Then you risk bad bad mouth, word of mouth, and you may also be shooting yourself in the foot. So it's a really weird. It's very interesting to think about, but I get why it's not a thing that happens very often because there's a lot of hiccups that can come from it.
I think it's a really I think it's a really cool idea that no one has really quite figured out, because I think that a lot of people have tried. And I think that with the modern era, with the technology that I have, I actually personally believe that it's worth taking another swing. The problem, my personal opinion, is that the problem is a tech is just a money technical question, because I think that you have to have the budget in order to produce it. And then you have to be able to organize it onto a platform in some way that makes it easy to navigate. Because if it's
Sure.
difficult to navigate, that's going to be a barrier for people. They're going to be like, "Well, fuck this. This is like, oh, I don't want to work when I'm watching TV." So I think it's a
It's
money technical.
escapism time. I don't want to do hard things. Yeah, no,
You
I
know,
get it.
so I think that there is a solution, but I think that the money barrier is going to be the biggest barrier, because yeah, in order to produce a single version of it, whether that's a film or a season of TV or a podcast, like an audio drama podcast situation, whatever you talk about, you're talking about literally doubling the budget in any of those scenarios.
Yeah,
At
yeah, for
least,
sure.
if not tripling.
So this is not the only gimmick that was tried out either. One of the weirder ones, which I don't think we need to revisit, but maybe we kind of are somewhere. I don't know.
Disagree. I want to
Have
bring
you?
all the gimmicks back. I want to make a movie called Gimmick that only uses failed movie gimmicks.
Okay, go ahead, pitch that to a studio. Let's see how it turns out. I'm sure. I'm sure studios will be lining up like, oh yeah, let's please. How many millions would you like, Morgan?
I think, wait,
Um,
my personal opinion though, like legitimately, if you did that, if you made a movie that was just like all of the gimmicks that you can think of, I feel like it could, in a very campy sort of way, be successful.
I think you would get some people that come just to check it out. The problem is you're not going to get enough to justify the budget. Like that's going to be the problem. You would get the Morgans of the world that are like, I got to see what kind of train wreck this is. But then other people are like, I don't get it. So I got to pick stuff and I got to wear goggles and I got to have skeletons swinging at me. Like it's just it's going to be hard to get. I mean, it's hard to get average moviegoers into movies half the time as it is.
This is true, but I think that that's more of a tech problem than an actual, like, enticing people to the theaters problem.
Can we put that on a T-shirt too? I think it's a tech problem. Like, it's like your answer for everything today.
Well, I do.
Why can't we have
I
good movies? I think it's a tech
I
problem.
told you that
Why can't
story.
we just use these ridiculous? I think it's a tech problem.
I
Yeah.
told you that story when I went to the theater, and it sounded like you were underwater. So, like, I do.
And that was in fact a tech
That was a
problem.
tech
So
problem. Also, like, if the chairs aren't comfortable, and which is like a serious problem at some theaters, because if if you have old decrepit seating that's uncomfortable and you want me to sit in it for 2 hours, because now the average length of a movie is 2 hours or more.
God, man, I am so lucky because for whatever reason I have like multiple really great theaters by me now. Like the theater I go to most often, the seats are very comfortable. They recline. You get you can buy alcohol, which I know you don't drink, so this may be not a perk for you. But like if you're somebody who wants to have a glass of wine or a beer with your movie, you can
I'll take a
do
steak
that.
dinner.
There are theaters that have like crazy dinners and stuff too. This one I'm talking about does not. This they got chicken fingers and popcorn. But
Hey, those are classic. Those are don't hate on the classic movie foods.
I'm not. I'm not. I mean I'm not a popcorn person. This is a hot take. Popcorn is not very good. Sorry, it's just
I
not.
the thing, you know what's weird is I'm in the same boat as you. I don't get popcorn.
Man, you know how much hate I get from people because I don't like popcorn. Like I don't like
I get the same
caramel
hate.
corn. I'll do that all day. cheddar corn, fine, but just regular movie theater popcorn, I'm like,
Dude,
do I want a salt lick? No,
the
I
only
don't.
thing about popcorn that makes it appealing is it's a vehicle for the artificial butter, which is engineered to be addictive. And I got to be honest, it's successful. That butter, I will eat the popcorn just to have the butter.
Yeah, not me. I skip the popcorn. I bring my kids to the movie theater and they want popcorn and they're like, "Aren't you gonna get some, Dad?" I'm like, "Hard pass." I don't know. I just don't get the appeal, and I know I'm in the minority. I'm glad somebody gets it. Most people
Dude, I
don't.
get it. I'm not a pop. I hate how it gets stuck in your teeth. The texture is weird, but I mean the butter though, dude. Like if I could take the butter and put it on something else that makes sense, I would. But I feel like that
Put it on your steak
popcorn
dinner.
movie butter is like specifically for like movie popcorn.
Well, also I mentioned before, like it's really salty, but that's also by design. Like
Yep.
popcorn,
Mhm.
popcorn at movie theaters is so salty because they want you to buy a drink with it.
Correct.
You know, they know you're going to need a drink,
Yes.
so it's all I don't know. It's all very done with a lot of intention,
It's a money
but
making
also like
machine.
yeah, and those things are so expensive. I mean, any kind of snacks in a movie theater. But we digress.
So
The
what's
thing I
this
want to
other
tell you
gimmick?
about
What's this other gimmick that
this,
I don't know about?
dude. There at one point movie theaters were trying smell-o-vision. Have you heard of
Oh,
that?
I
Are you
have.
familiar?
And I remember as a kid there was a I thought, very successful version of this.
Where? Like, what did you experience?
It was the one time that my parents took my family to Disney World. Which is it's so funny for me to think about because now I live in Florida. And Disney's like technically right down the road from where I am now. But it was it was like this 4D experience. It was a theater. And I remember there were some very, and maybe it's because I was a kid. I will preface by saying I could have been taken in by the novelty because I was a kid. I don't know that if I experienced it now that it would have the same effect. But they had a lot of really cool features. Like I don't even know how they did it, but there were instances where they were able to make it feel like because you had 3D glasses on and there was 3D
Hmm.
aspects, there were instances where I believed at one point I got stung by a bee in the middle of the thing and I felt it. There's a moment where there are like rats running over your feet. There's a moment where
Hmm.
like you're in a field and you could feel the breeze and smell the flowers. I thought it was a very successful 4D experience.
You said this was at Disney World, right? So this was like some sort of experience there. This wasn't. Um, I know at one point Disney World had an alien encounter experience
Okay.
that had like you could feel things rub up against the back of your feet and that sort of thing. Like I don't consider that the same thing. Like I get what you're saying, and it probably is similar technology with the fragrance thing because that's not a movie. Was this for an actual movie, or was this like the Muppets thing? Maybe
I'm gonna
didn't
be
they have a
honest.
Muppets 4D thing?
I
I
don't
don't know.
actually remember what I was watching. I remember the experience.
Yeah,
Because the
so
rats freaked me out. I like jumped out of my seat and I was like, apparently I was begging my parents to leave after that point because it like freaked me out.
see, it sounds vaguely familiar to me too. So I think whatever it was probably some sort of like long-standing Disney World attraction thing,
Mm.
which, I mean, I guess it could have been some kind of movie, but I remember them having like a Muppets 4D thing, which incorporated different kind of visuals, and an alien encounter thing that I think later turned into a Lilo and Stitch thing that encountered some of those. But that wasn't a movie. But I guess at some point, movie theaters had the smell-o-vision thing too,
Mhm.
which I never experienced in person. The closest I got was I think when I was maybe in high school, NBC. Do you know the show 30 Rock? Or not 30 Rock, Third Rock from the Sun?
No 30 Rock. I know Third Rock for the Sun. I've never seen it.
Okay, so Third Rock from the Sun was a show that was on NBC whatever nights. It was in their prime time. And it was about, some aliens that were living as people on Earth, hence the Third Rock from the Sun. And for a big episode, they had put in the mail, like in like the weekly newspaper, 3D glasses, like the cheap foldable
Mhm.
kinds, like the flat paper ones.
With the
And
blue
there
and the
was like a
red.
sheet.
With the blue and the
Yeah,
red.
yeah. I think no, it was like a black and white though. It was
Oh,
not the
interesting.
typical blue and red. And they put like some kind of paper in there with a scratch and sniff. And they had a special episode of Third Rock from the Sun where when you watched it, it would give you, you watched it with the 3D glasses, but it would also give you prompts to like scratch a certain
Scratch and sniff.
symbol and then scent it, smell it at the time, and it have different scents like flowers or grass or whatever.
I'm already turned off
That's
because that sounds like so much like I want to sit and enjoy my media. I don't want to
yeah.
work.
Now, as a kid, I was excited to try it, of course, because it was very different and novel. But to your point, if this was something that would happen regularly, none of that would have been. I mean, it's extra work. Like none of that would have been interesting. So I get why the smell-o-vision thing didn't work. That might still be a thing in like,
Is
you know how
that wait?
Las Vegas has that sphere.
Is that how it works? Like they give you a
No,
scratch and sniff, and that's how the smell-o-vision
no, not
works?
in the theater. In the theater, it would pump a scent in there.
Oh,
But
okay,
I'm saying that's the closest that I ever got to that type of thing
sure.
outside of like whatever Disney World experience you're talking about. But I never saw it in the theater. But that was kind of the way that they were trying to like, how do we put this
Get
in the
people to
home?
go. Yeah.
You know
Oh,
what I mean?
how do you get it in the home?
Right, because you know they were going to air a special episode on the television,
Yeah.
so they sent it in the newspapers to people, so this way they can have smell-o-vision at home. You know,
Interesting.
but like other gimmicks are even things like 3D glasses now. Like that is still pretty popular, and it's better now than it used to be. Because there was a time where you would see like a 3D movie, and it's like this is not even good. But now they're specifically filmed in 3D versus adapted to 3D, so that's made it better. The technology's got a little bit
And you
better.
don't even need the
So they
glasses anymore.
depends. In a movie, you do at
I
the movie theater.
there's a I mean like maybe it's because it's very touristy where I am in Florida and because the theme parks are right nearby, but a lot of the theaters in Orlando, not in the town that I live in, but in Orlando, they have 3D showings of movies and you don't need glasses for any of them.
How how does that work?
The 3D is depth of field, and it's not like things come out of the screen at you. It's more a depth of field type of thing.
But I'd have to look into that because I know like there was a Nintendo 3DS, right? Like
Mhm.
that was a 3D
I
device
have
that you
one.
could use
I like it a lot.
without glass. Yeah. So the way that that worked is because there was actually like a camera and it would adjust like it would adjust the image based on your eye, like your eye position. This way it would keep that illusion of a 3D environment.
It
But
was
if you
very
had
good.
multiple people in a theater, it did work very well. But I remember at the time when they were developing that technology, that was the biggest that they could do it. Like that was the biggest size that it could work because you know you have that limiting factor of like it has to be able to work well with the position of your face.
Right. And
So
it's
if
also singular because it's a personal device.
yeah,
It's a
it's a
personal
personal
device. So
device.
it's like it's only
Yeah.
tracking one set of eyes.
Right. That's why I don't know how that would work in a theater. But that's cool if that's a thing. I didn't know that that was a thing. But
It's not
I'm surprised
it's
that it's not done other places then if that's
It's certainly
like
here's what I will say. It is certainly not as good as the 3DS. I've gone to see one movie in 3D, and when I left, I was like, that was 3D. So I think that they're definitely stretching what 3D means. And I also have
yeah.
preconceived notions about 3D.
Morgan, are you sure the sign didn't say watch a movie while you sit in 3D? Like
Could have, could have, I
there's
possibly.
like you can sit in a 3D space. It's the future.
Um, but I also have preconceived notions about what 3D is because when I think 3D, I think the glasses and I think, oh, it's gonna come out at me, which
And
is
that's
an
and
evolving
that's
definition.
because like I mean that's a really high end 3D. Like the stuff that was at Disney World or like I remember going to Universal Studios and they had that Terminator 2 performance and you would see that thing and it would come like out the screen. That was fantastic 3D. I wish like if movies did that, I mean I'd go see them all
That's
in
supposed.
3D.
See, I also have like a very this is where I could probably be more educated about the lingo and how things work because IMAX, when I was a kid, was like you had the glasses and like stuff came out at you, and that was like the IMAX experience, and it was an immersive experience. And then I guess the definition of IMAX got updated and I got left behind because nobody told me, and that's not IMAX anymore. And I got wound up about this for a while because people that I know would be like, "Hey, let's go see this in IMAX," and I'd be like, It's not IMAX. If it doesn't come out at me, it's not IMAX."
I don't think that ever was. I mean, I think that that was 3D that they were doing at IMAX, but I like maybe they were bundling them at the time. But like IMAX is the film, like it's a different ratio size
Right.
screen, and
Which
the
is what I
film is
have
different.
come to learn.
Yes, so like you could do 3D in that. I guess you can do both, and that's probably what you were going to see, what you were seeing. But IMAX itself has nothing to do with 3D.
Right. Which I
Yeah,
learned later in life. But nobody told me. Nobody told me these things when I was growing up.
sounds like a tech problem.
I really need to get these shirts, and like I feel like
Yeah.
that's gonna become my shtick.
Yeah, I think so. So yeah, I mean, we see those now. I've also seen that movie theaters are doing this like X. I forget what they call it.
XD.
There's some kind of thing where is it XD?
Yeah.
No, XD. I think it's just the really big screen, right? There's like Screen X or something where it like wraps around, like where there's. I've not been to one of these, but you have the screen in
Panorama?
front of you, but then you have screen. It's kind of like panorama, yeah. But they extend the existing theater or the existing movie screen. This way, you have more content to the right and left. Uh, Not every movie does it. Not every movie theater has it.
I've
But
never heard of
that's
that.
another thing too to try to make it more immersive. Which I don't know. Maybe it's fine. I guess I have to try it to know for sure.
I don't
Vibrating
know.
seats. That's been a thing.
So 3D, like 3D in the sense that I mean it, where stuff comes out at you.
Sure.
Gimmicky. Agree. Vibrating seats to some degree, gimmicky, unless you're a
Hmm.
horny college student. Smell-o-vision, I would agree, is gimmicky. Um, I don't know that extending the screen to make it more immersive is gimmicky.
I again, I haven't done it, so I don't know for sure. But I am leaning to the side that it is because you know nothing of importance is happening there because making they're not making additional content for 30 theaters in the US, right? I mean, like, so you're still seeing everything you're supposed to see in front of you. So if it's going through, like, when you go to an IMAX film, there's more content there because they're filming IMAX, like, they're filming it on an IMAX camera, which captures more picture. So even when they cut that off, like if they cut it off to fit it in a normal format, there's still stuff that's there. The most important stuff is there, is is in the middle, but there's still more content in the IMAX thing. You get to see a larger scale, whatever. When you're talking about the stuff that wraps around, that's the same movie, but it does something where it takes like the end and like stretches it. So like the content
Oh,
that you would like if you're watching Lord of the Rings and you see like a green field, now the green field wraps around you. And yes, like it can make you feel more like you're there,
well, that's what
but
I,
you're
if
not getting
that's,
anything important there.
well, this is where I would ask what is the purpose of, I guess, the quote unquote gimmick? Because that's literally what why am I blanking on what they're called? The goggles, the immersive goggles that were like
Like
the VR goggles.
VR,
VR
yeah.
goggles. That's literally all VR is you put it on and it makes you feel like you're in the environment. And it's not like if I turn this way, there's something happening over there. It's just if I'm in a desert, there's desert over there, and there's desert over there.
Yeah, but the difference is that you're taking the image, which is normally 40 feet in front of you, and it's putting it right there. So you don't have the literal environment that you're standing in. Like you don't see movie theater chairs or other people or the backs of heads, or like, you don't see that stuff. All you see is the movie. So I would argue that a VR is more immersive than just having extra screen space around you, because all of the environment that they're actually sitting in is still there.
I think you're poking at the success of that globe thing in Vegas because that's the literal reason they built that.
Yes, so that's what I was going to say. Like, that thing, I think, does work a little bit better, and I haven't seen that yet. I hope to, but I think because that is combining multiple gimmicks to put all together, and it is gimmicky, but the whole purpose of that
Who
is.
earlier this episode said, "Why don't we just smash all the gimmicks together and sell it in a neat bow?"
You said that,
I wonder who said that.
meant it from a like a theater perspective to get everybody in the seat for regular movies. Like, this whole thing has been crafted for the specific
Sounds
experience.
like a tech problem.
So they've it is, in fact. They've adapted the movie. They've increased stuff. They drop apples from the ceiling and all that other stuff. Like, all those things are specifically built into one complete experience, not just like, what do we got in our bag? Let's use it. Like, it was delicately crafted. I think it's different. I don't know.
I feel I mean, like, I could just smash all the gimmicks together, but I have too much respect for myself as an artist to just, I guess, smash gimmicks together and be like, here. It would, to a degree,
I'm not saying
be
you
a
would create it,
curated
but if they did it,
experience.
I think your point was, if they did it, you would go see it. That's what the point was.
If I smashed all the gimmicks together, they would go see it.
Not if you did it, if somebody did it. If the theater smashed all the stuff together and put it all out there, would Morgan go buy a ticket? I think you would.
I don't go to the theater now. Hold on. What happened to the whole narrative of Morgan never sees movies? What?
That's why, because there's not enough gimmicks for you.
Not
You said
enough
you
gimmicks.
wanted all the
Oh,
gimmicks.
okay.
You don't go because there's not enough gimmicks. You want the whole kit and caboodle.
We've solved the problem. So all you have to do is entice Morgan with a cool gimmick.
Or 12.
Or 12. But I do I did enjoy the 3D gimmick, I'll be honest. But also when the blue and red 3D goggles gimmick was really popular, I was an adolescent. I was probably between the ages of like 9 and 13. And I think it's a lot easier to sell a kid a gimmick than it is to sell an adult a gimmick. And
Sure.
I feel like if the idea is to try and sell this concept to an adult audience, I think you have to really sit down and figure out what you're doing. And that's probably why the globe thing, or whatever it's called. What is it called? The Sphere? I don't even know.
The Sphere, yeah.
The Sphere in Vegas. That's probably why it's successful, because the thing with gimmicks that people don't like, I think the core reason that people don't like gimmicks is because it's insulting to your intelligence.
Right, it's a cash grab thing. It's just what. But if you're building it for more than just like the, hey, look, we got this, then I don't know. Obviously somebody goes and falls for gimmick stuff because they keep doing them, right? So somebody is willing to pay the money to see it just because it's like, it's a novelty. Let me check it out. If not, they would stop doing it.
Yeah.
But regardless, when Clue did their thing, it didn't go over well. That's why when they released it to DVD, they put all the endings stacked right on top of each other, and you got to see them in succession, which was the first way that I saw the movie. I didn't even realize that they were originally independent and when they was in the theater. So
wait, what? Say that
they
again?
did that, and then I didn't realize the first time I saw the movie, I saw all the endings stacked on top of each other. So you see them one after another after another.
Oh.
When it went to home release, I know when it would play on like HBO and stuff, all three endings would play one after the other. And the way that when I saw it as a kid, I thought basically the first two endings were like fake out endings. So you'd watch it and you'd be like, this is what could have happened.
Oh.
And then it would start and you'd be like, oh, but that wasn't the real ending. So maybe this one is. And then you saw it and you're like, oh, that one wasn't either. And then the final ending I took as the real ending.
That's
So
also
when
though a gimmick that I have seen, where you think a movie's over, and but there's some usually a time travel reason why that's not the end, and
sure,
the movie keeps going. Um, and time travel is not the only out. I've seen other variants of it, so that's interesting. Because if you stack them like that, I can see why it would give that perception, especially if you don't
yeah.
know what the context is.
Even when the movie came back to theaters for like a 20th anniversary re-release or whatever, that's how they played it then too. So like that's kind of how it's been adapted moving forward. So I don't know. There's been talk of trying to redo like reboot Clue, which everybody hates reboots, but apparently people watch them because they keep making them. But Clue is one that like I actually don't think I would mind seeing a reboot of. Like I almost feel I don't know if you probably haven't seen the Knives Out movies. Have you seen the Knives Out movies?
Never even heard of him.
So Netflix did Knives Out, which was a like a whodunit movie starring Daniel Craig, and then there was a second one called Glass Onion, a Knives Out movie, which it's like Daniel Craig is playing like basically like a Sherlock Holmes, where he's solving this crazy intricate murder mystery, and that's kind of Clue esque, but Clue is a little bit sillier and campier. I don't know that I would hate a reboot, and I've heard that um,
Hmm.
there was talk at one point of having one where I want to say like Ryan Reynolds and Jim Carrey maybe were like looked at to be in those. I don't remember. There was a couple big names in there, and I would be interested. This I would watch that, but I would also be interested in them trying the multiple ending thing again because I think now lends so much better for it because people would talk about it and social media would actually get people to the theater for it. Where I think when you did it originally, when people walk out of the theater, like unless you bumped into somebody that had also seen it, you start talking about it. There was no like easy way for discourse to make
Happen.
it happen.
Yeah.
So you'd either like find out about it well after the fact and then you're angry about it, or you never knew that there was another option and you don't go back to the theater for it. Now everyone would know within a couple days and it would be like a whole thing.
I
But I
definitely,
do agree with your point earlier that the divergent point should be earlier in the movie.
yeah. It's also a tech problem. Uh, um,
I don't watch movies. Yeah.
I that's the shirt that we need to make. I don't watch movies. Um, I will say that I think that social media would definitely make it a more viable way to make the gimmick work. But
Yeah.
I would also I think we're getting to a point where we've tried it a bunch. And I mean like I'm saying this as the person that advocated earlier in the episode that we haven't tried it quite right yet. But I think we're getting to a point where we kind of have to say, listen, we tried it. It doesn't work. It's probably better suited for a different medium, like a book or a book series.
Yeah. Either way, I would like a new Clue movie. So if they do or do not do the separate endings, I'd still be at minimum they should do the successive endings where you put like multiple endings right after each other. Like I would still be okay with that, but I would like to see them do it and split
If
it
you
up
do successive
into different
endings, though,
endings.
then you're not really doing the gimmick.
No, but it's still I don't know. It still feels like it works for one. It'd be an homage to the original, but also I feel like it still works for
It
the
wouldn't,
sake of
though. They
like
only did that when
Clue.
it aired on cable because that.
No,
How else
and the
would you do it?
DVD release. Like when it went to home video, it did it that same way too.
Right,
This way you
but
got all of the endings at once.
that's
And
not
when they
the.
re-released it into theaters. So like I'm
Yeah,
saying, like that became the standard. So they released it the first way, it didn't work out, they re-released it, the other way, and then that became the standard.
yeah.
I don't know.
I don't know. I I do think that there's man, I kind of hate that this is my perspective, but to some degree I genuinely believe it, which is that we haven't tried it quite right yet, but that perspective can get you into so much trouble. So, uh, um maybe I should just shut up and stop talking.
Okay. You ready for some trivia?
Oh, I don't know.
This is trivia that's based on board games, so you may know
I
these.
doubt it, dude. I'm so bad
You
at
love board
trivia.
games. You
I
told me
do, but
yourself.
I'm so bad at trivia. The thing is, like, ask me on a random Tuesday anything you want, and just information will come spilling out. But ask me a specific question about a specific thing, and like, when was World War II?
You don't know? Oh man. All right. Well, hopefully you'll know a few of these because as much as you don't, I mean, I don't know that I'm gonna get any trivia questions right for board games, but maybe our powers combined, we can get a few of them.
Hey,
We did
that's
pretty we
Captain
did pretty
Planet.
poorly on last week's. Last week's was what 5 out of 10.
That was
We
not
got
good.
to we got to do better than 50%.
How many
I think we
questions
can.
are there, and are they multiple choice? Because last week you threw some open-ended ones.
There are 10 here,
Okay.
and these are not multiple choice. I
None of
don't
them.
make the surveys. I don't make the quizzes. No.
Dude, we're gonna fail so hard.
Only one way to find
Parcheesi.
out.
The answer is Parcheesi to all of
That'd be
them.
funny if it was. So this week's trivia is from dorkygeekynerdy.com. It is the classic board games geeky round trivia.
Classic.
Question number one. What board game had a Master Detective version that included Poison, a Carriage House, and Sergeant Gray?
Clue?
That's the only thing I can think of. I've never heard of any of these things, but I'm going Clue as well. Hey, we got it
Okay.
right. All right. It was a larger version of the game released in 1988. Well, look at that.
Interesting.
All right. The properties in Monopoly are based on what U.S. city?
New York.
You think New York?
New York City, yeah, because Broadway and Park Place are both in New York City. So by default, all the rest have to be in New York City because there's no other Broadway.
Sorry to say that was incorrect. It says it's Atlantic City, New Jersey.
What?
That's what the quiz says.
What? I don't believe that.
And we both love Monopoly. We both got it wrong.
Wow.
How many squares are there on a Scrabble board?
Oh, I used to know this. How nerdy does that make me? I used to know this because I think it's like a 14 by 14 board. No, that can't be
Oh, is
right.
it? I was going to guess a 24 by 24 board. I don't know. It just felt right to me, which would make it what, 288? No. Is that right?
24, well, 20 times 20 would be 400, and then 40 times 40 would be 160. So
So
200 and 160 would be 360.
no, that's not right. Because 20 by 20 is 400. So 400
Oh,
plus
I'm sorry. 400 plus 160 would be 560.
560. That seems like a lot. That might be too many squares on that board.
It's a good guess, though.
I don't know. What do you think? What's your guess?
I
Let's see
think
who's
it's
closer. We'll do it like Price is Right.
I think it's something random, like 132.
132. I mean, I guess it could be. All right. So you say 132. I guess I'm going with 560. 225. The
Oh,
board is
okay.
15 by 15.
I'm definitely closer on that one.
Yeah, for sure. As soon as we said it, it was way too low. It was way too high for me. All right. As of 2013, how many pawns do players have in the game? Sorry.
As of what year?
2013. Apparently, there was
Oh,
some
I don't
big
know.
sorry
If they
change.
change
I
if
guess.
they change the rules, then I'm gonna get this wrong. But when I used to play Sorry, it was 5.
All right. I was gonna guess 4, but now that I have that info, I'm gonna say 6. 3.
3?
Originally there were 4. Apparently, you only get 3 now.
What? Why?
Yeah, I don't know. Let's write Parker Brothers. I don't even know if they make that game, but let's write Parker Brothers a question, even if they don't make that game. Let's see if they can explain it to us.
That's so strange.
The phrase back to square one originates from what ancient board game?
Back to Square One originates from Jumanji.
You're going Jumanji? Interesting.
Jumanji's not a real game, dude.
Ha- do you know it? Do you know it's a movie?
I do know it's a movie. I have,
Oh, right.
and not only that, I have seen
Have you
this
seen it?
movie.
He's seen a movie, folks. He's seen a movie. All right. No, do you have a serious guess?
No. Quest? I don't know.
I'm gonna guess Shoots and Ladders.
Interesting.
I'm trying to think of something that would go back to square one because you know when you get on the ladder, you have
Yeah,
to
yeah,
or the
you
chute you go
technically
down.
fall down a chute, yeah.
Shoots and Ladders. Oh my god,
Oh,
I can't believe I
wow.
got it right.
Okay, okay.
Yeah. Let's see. In the 1960s, Art Linkletter appeared on $100,000 bills of what board game?
Okay, so it's a board game with money.
I gotta say, I mean, it's gotta be Monopoly, right? That's the only thing I got.
No,
I
the
mean, I guess
Monopoly Man is on the Monopoly money.
I
What
know, but
kind
is
of
that based off of a? I don't know who Art Linkletter is, but is that based off of a real life person? Maybe that guy looked like the Monopoly Man,
The Monopoly
and
Man
he
doesn't
appeared
have
on
a
the money.
name. He's the Monopoly Man.
I think he does. I think his name is Mr.
Okay,
Moneybag or
wait. Now
something, isn't
that
it?
I have to Google because now we're down a rabbit hole of who's the Monopoly Man. Does the hold on? Does the Monopoly Man
I think he has a
have a
name,
name?
and I
Mr.
feel
Monopoly is the mascot of the board game Monopoly.
that's it. Just Mr. Then
Yes,
who's Mr.
yes, the Monopoly
Moneybags?
Man has a name. Oh, his official name is Rich Uncle Pennybags.
Pennybags. Okay, I was
No, no,
kind
no,
of
no,
in the
no, no,
ballpark.
no, no. Rich Uncle Pennybags.
I like how that's officially his name. Like his given name is Rich Uncle. Like he was born a baby and his parents were like, "We're going to name him Rich Uncle." That's his name.
That's
Side note, side note, doesn't Mr. Monopoly seem like he would hang out with Mr. Peanut?
yes, yes. I
I
actually,
think it's because they both seem fancy,
I
right? I mean,
wrote,
like they seem like they'd be bros.
I wrote a short of that was Mr. Monopoly and Mr. Peanut.
Did you really?
I
Oh my
did.
god! All right,
Um,
let's produce it.
so it's not good, dude. Doesn't have any real
I,
story. It was just a fun idea that I had where I was like, I want these two characters in the same place. There's no
they
real.
should be. They seem like they'd be bros.
I would be
All
willing
right.
to
So
take a
what's your
swing
guess?
at an actual story that has those two, but then you get
Let's
into
do
the
it.
whole like now we got to talk with Hash Bros and
Oh
license the
yeah, yeah,
characters.
yeah. Yeah, and who knows? They may not want them. Maybe they would not want them
Yeah,
crossing paths. You know what I mean? Food. Peanuts can be weird with allergies. Maybe rich uncle, that poor rich uncle
that's the
Pennybags.
plot.
Maybe he's
That's the
allergic.
plot. That's the plot. They're
There we go.
best
There we
friends.
go.
They're
All right.
best friends, but Mr. Monopoly is allergic to peanuts.
All right. So what's your guess? Art Linkletter appeared on $100,000 bills of what board game?
$100,000 bills. Also, Monopoly doesn't have $100,000 bills.
What game does? I don't know what game is got a. What game is giving it like?
Um,
That's a ton of money.
Parcheesi.
All right. Let's see. The game of life. I should have guessed.
Oh, I've never actually played that. Well, I mean, like I play the game every day, I guess, but I've never played the board game.
Okay. Reversi is another name for what Shakespearean-inspired game?
Othello.
That's what I was going to guess too. It's the only thing I can think of. That it is.
Othello.
Number 8. What are the two types of pieces in checkers?
Red and white. Oh,
I
pawns and
think it's
kings.
red and. No, that's chess,
No,
right?
when you play checkers and you
Oh,
king
I see what you're
king
saying.
a piece.
Oh, interesting guess. I was going to guess red and black, but you might be right. Men and kings.
Men and kings. I was close.
You were. Good call. Number 9. What ancient game can be played as a blocking game or a scoring game?
Chinese checkers?
I'm going to guess backgammon.
Oh no, wait. Um, Quattro.
Never played that. Dominoes,
Damn it!
apparently. We were both wrong. We should have known. Scoring, blocking, and pizza.
I've never played the blocking version of. Oh, block. Well, block as in like building.
I don't know. I don't know how to play dominoes, so I have no idea if they're referring to like building or if they're referring to like a way you play to stop somebody from. I took it as you play your piece to stop somebody from scoring.
That would be blocking.
Right. That's what I'm saying. Like maybe there's a way you play dominoes where you play a piece a certain way to stop the other person from scoring. Because I think like there's like numbers on both sides. Like maybe you have to make a match. So if you play a piece that's a certain
Dominoes
number.
only have numbers on one side.
No, I mean on both ends.
Oh
Because like
yeah,
one
yeah,
end will
yeah,
be like a 1, the other one will be a 5 or whatever.
yeah.
I don't know how to play the game though. But all right, final question. Are you ready for this?
No.
We've done pretty well so far. What game has pieces representing winds, dragons, flowers, and seasons?
Mahjong.
It's a good guess. I have no idea. Parcheesi. It is Mahjong. Good job.
Hey!
Yeah. All right.
I used to play
well,
Mahjong
you did
as
pretty
a
well
kid.
on that one.
The gambling version, though.
I think I used to play it on an old PC. I think there used to be a computer game on my old Windows 95 computer.
Well, there's different. The thing is, Mahjong is kind of like a deck of cards where if you have a 52 deck, you can play lots of different games. Mahjong is the same way where the the Mahjong that most people are familiar with is the matching game that you can get on your phone or whatever. That's not Mahjong, guys. I don't know who needs to hear that. That's not Mahjong. Mahjong is an actual game with rules.
I like the matching one. It's nice and easy. Nice brain rot. Well, I think that's a wrap on this episode.
That's a wrap.
That's a wrap on the cast Backstage and Banter for this week.
So
Backstage Banter, no and.
No
I need to get it
and.
right. I keep messing it up.
He
I
does.
keep messing it
Go
up.
back.
So that's a wrap on the cast Backstage Banter for this week. So until next time,
film reel rolling.
keep the reel rolling, and we'll see you in the next scene.